Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Super excited to be back, and I'm sorry that I have been away for such a long time. Work and life simply got in the way a little bit, and so is the game. I mean, to be honest, I don't know how many modes they added in the past few weeks and months. I'm excited to be back, and I'm hopeful that today's video, as well as future content, can continue to be of help to some of you guys. All right, let's dive in. Before we start, perhaps just to give a quick account overview, given I know it's been quite some time since we last visited it, just to show you what I've been working on, mostly in Gyro Core, with Genos being the main carry. I focused on Purple 5ing Watchdog Man and Gyro Core, Purple 5 first because they're buffs to the Genos ult. Working on Red Mosquito Girl and hoping to get her Red 5, Purple 5 in the next couple weeks, and we'll see. Maybe just really quickly about Genos gear and then buff gear. Now that Amai is out, as long as you have a high speed Amai, I would recommend go full HP or damage. In the top gear, crit rate, bottom left, crit damage, and then HP percentage on the other two spots. In terms of buff gear, the most ideal stats here will be HP bonus, followed by HP dead stats, and then speed bonus, attack, all the others, etc., etc. Bottom one, damage rate, nothing else is better. And then you can only get 3 lines of the same effect, so don't bother re-rolling after that. On the top right, really you want to go for crit rate, and that's pretty much all you need. Although in this case, I would wish these 2 items are not useless like this damage reduction. I think if with those maxed out and with the gear maxed out, you should be looking at around 94% crit. I believe when the new emblem system comes out, it can come to 98 or even a little bit higher, but that's probably past Genos Prime already. Alright, enough about that. I did pull Tornado a little bit, but I don't plan on focusing her. I will explain a little bit why in the actual content of this video. But just to get her, even if you want to focus on Genos, she is essential. I believe this is a Drive Knight for getting the Genos buff, getting the Mosquito attack, 0/0 attack, etc., etc. So, if you have enough tickets, pull for her. If not, I would say just feel free to skip. Before we hop off, let's see how this guy does in actual damage. I'm only using Child Emperor here because of the Berserk effect, and hoping to get some Shatter that increases the damage to follow up. 3 Shatter, not bad. Let's see what Genos can do. Bang, 65 mil, okay, not bad. I'm hoping to get to close to 100, if not exactly that, before Bomb comes out and pretty much renders Genos useless, just because that's probably the last sort of, really favorite character of mine. I want to put all that I have into him. All right, enough about me showing off. Let's get to the main part of this video. So, essentially, I want to use the time today to talk a little bit about what's next. Mainly in the form of the next releases that we're expecting, as well as sort of the methods they release them, and generally how the meta can shift as an impact of that. I will also touch a little bit on the new era that will come towards later half of the year, namely the SSR Plus era, and why that is such a difference from what we're experiencing now, and why that's actually a point a lot of people can quit. So it's kind of to help you prepare yourself, kind of strategize how you want to play this game for the next few weeks and months. So just again on the agenda, this part 1 will focus on just basically an outlook to the future about what has happened and what will happen next, and how players are a little bit, quite frankly, harmed by it. I will do another video, hopefully early next week, on how to react to that. As a whale, low spender, free to play, how to continue to enjoy this game if you can, if you still want to. What are the potential systems out there as the next core comes up, and based on each system and or spending level, which should you pull and not pull. It's a lot to get into one video, that's why I'm splitting it in 2. So let's dive in. spent quite some time pulling this page together. I know it's a busy page, so let me walk you through it. Two halves on this page. First half is essentially listing out the original LSSR release schedule in the Chinese server around 2 or 3 years ago. Which character comes after which, and then essentially I didn't do the sort of the recall banner or like comeback banner just because it's always 2 months after original release. And then in the bottom, mapped out essentially what has happened so far in terms of release and what I predict will happen next in the next couple weeks or months. For you can do your own research after. If you do think, you can look into each of these individual characters, see if they are of your choice or not. So on the top half, let's start with essentially top 2020. So we saw Phoenix Man getting released in April of that year, followed by Gyro, Genos, Mosquito Girl, Watchdog Man, and then Attack sort of Tornado. Awakened Tornado. And this is exactly where we are, right? So we are about, I would say, a little bit less than 3 years behind of the Chinese server. So what comes next originally for them? They actually had Amai as a limited character, followed by Drive Knight, Bomb, there's a new core, Suiru, Sonic, Vaccine Man, and then Gale Wing, this is the Flame, and then we are into the SSR Plus era, which we'll dive into in a little bit of a later video. And then at the bottom, you will see that's our release schedule so far. So from a broad strokes perspective, right, what are the differences you notice? First, I think the most obvious one is how are these heroes being released? In the original Chinese server, the only way that they are coming out, at least for the longest time, is through black tickets only. That means everyone, whether you spend $1 million or $0 per month, technically can save enough tickets to get any character you may want, right? That at least that's the hope, that's the goal. And then there is a decent chunk of time in between each character, right? There's not overlapping character, if so, as you will see below, and in our game, that accelerates the meta drastically. Why do I say that? Because naturally, like other games of this type, One Punch Man have newer characters being most of the time hard counters, if not completely negates the older characters, right? Their viability. We're in this era right now. Gyro basically renders Zombie Man useless in PvP, and then SSR Genos can do more than Garo and Gogetsu combined, which are two of the core characters in the Zombie Man core, right? And then obviously PvE with Mosquito Girl and without is basically two different type of games. This trend we'll actually see continue for all the characters in here. Sadly, in my opinion, the next core, which is Bomb core, is extremely focused on counteracting Genos. That's why Drive Knight as well as Bomb are both with passives that negate all damage or any type of damage really, and then give huge buffs to their shields that even Genos attack wouldn't penetrate. You would have to rely on force field. That's what Tornado actually does best. The trend actually continues going forward. Each character kind of beating the ones of the last. Suiru is, I think, I guess you can say a very upgraded version of Phoenix Man, given their ultimate bow strike, the latter half of the unit. Sonic is a counter to Amai, given his passive speeds himself up, so at the same investment level, a Sonic is always faster than Amai. Vaccine Man is another partner for Tornado to make her better. Gale Wing, strong character, and Flaming Flame is actually a character directly countering Tornado. At least he was supposed to. He ended up being just simply not good enough, so didn't really achieve that purpose. However, this is where Tornado actually dies, right? This is the SSR plus Child Emperor, the first of the SSR pluses. That uses the new system, and his passive essentially just negates all force fields, so she just wouldn't be viable at all, right? So sure, there is this natural progression of the game. There's an evolution of characters. They want to make money, obviously, So they want to make you pull new characters, right? But the thing to note here is that there is a decent amount of time between each characters and the character that basically renders them useless. If we count from a Genos perspective, the time that he can remain in top 10 meta are the months he comes out immediately, Mosquito Girl, Washdog Man, who's a partner in crime, Tornado, who basically doesn't survive a one-turn attack from Genos like everyone else, Amai too, given that Amai can boost up the speed of Genos and Genos can focus on damage, and even Drive Knight, given that he himself alone isn't enough to really kill the character off. It really wouldn't be until Bomb comes out and the entire new core that Genos just simply wouldn't be that viable in top 10 PvP or any type of competitive play. So how many months is that? That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months. Similarly, for Awakened Tornado, she would have not the month she come out, she wasn't viable then, but she would have Amai boosting her speed so she at least get to attack before she got one shot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right? So I think in the best case scenario, she would have 8 months that she would be pretty much, if not viable, essential in the top 10 PvP meta before Child Emperor just kind of tears it apart. I would say that's a decent amount of time, right? If you put your heart and soul into a player, into a character, especially that one is your favorite, to have him be able to shine in competitive play for at least half a year, if not a little bit longer. And I think that was the trend before, right? You see King being usable for a long time, Garou obviously being usable even sometimes into now, people are using him. But sadly, that trend would not continue. And that is one, with the coming of the SSR era, but even more importantly, by how Moontoon releases the characters. Namely, now we switch over to the mess that we have in the global server. Couple of things to point out. First, they are switching the characters order like just randomly with no sense at all. Sometimes the character comes out like even after it got outdated. In the case of Flashy Flash, for example. Second, they uses a variety of ways to release characters that are, dare I say, essential to the game experience, right? Not only do they do black tickets now, but characters as essential as a core. Gyro is releasing a backup stick, essentially locked after a paywall. So free-to-play player had no chance at all of getting hit, which is I think it's a shame. And even furthermore, it essentially accelerates the meta cycle as well as the expiration date of each character almost twice the speed, because every 2 months the backup stick is renewal and a new LSSR character is released. Let me remind you that wasn't the case in the Chinese server. They too have backup sticks, but they were of older SSR characters. For example, Zombie Man was created as a character that got released in backup stick in the Gyro era, and then Gyro in the Bomb era, right? So then people who can spend some money, low amount of money, to get a character maybe they never had a chance to, but then technically every character is achievable by every player in the game, regardless of spending level, right? The bigger problem this release schedule caused is really how just fast expiring these characters are, right? If we really count the same meta lengths for Genos and Tornado, we'll see is actually half as of what it used to be. So in our case, Genos got released in May of this year. So that month, he's viable. June, last month, absolute king. This month, probably too, given that Tornado really, is getting one shot by him as well. However, right, I would say to fellow Genos owners, this might be the last month that he really is that viable in PvP, because next month, not only will have a new SSR that's just bound to counter him, we also have the renewal of the backup stick that essentially will have a character, and if they go by order, it will be Bomb. That basically renders him pretty much useless. And obviously, I think as you can see from this line forward, this will be the prediction of myself, given no one knows what the heck is happening going forward. There is an argument to be made here about next month what will happen if they're gonna bring, back sort of Phoenix Man up, if they're gonna push Bomb out, bring Suru forward, etc., etc. But either way, this will be in the fine margins of a few characters swapping places. And given their track record of releasing an essential character in a backup stick, I wouldn't be surprised, although I hope not, that they do it again. So this will be August, what it looks like to me at the moment. What does September look like? So the reason why September is marked in yellow is because it's the game anniversary, 1-year anniversary. You will see the same being done for June for Chinese server because that's the anniversary over there. A couple patterns to notice. In short, a super powerful game-breaking character gets released on anniversary. That was the case 3 years ago. That was the case actually just now. So last month in the Chinese server 2023, the updated version of Tornado got released on the anniversary. So I'm almost certain that something like this would happen again, right? They would want to sell the most on the anniversary standpoint. So I think this is where it's up for debate, right? There are a couple scenarios here, and this is the one I think is most likely. The worst case scenario, absolutely, is they actually bring Child Emperor forward, right? Which is honestly kind of a stupid move because he renders all of these guys just not that useful, but I don't doubt they can pull something like this off. In that case, Tornado would live 2 months at best. Another likely scenario, in my opinion, would be they take one between Suiru, Sonic, and maybe Gale Wing. All of these three, perhaps a little less so Suiru, but they're very strong PvP and PvE characters. And in the case of Suiru, he's also a very high popularity character. So just as in the case of Flashy Flash, who wasn't really viable in PvP but got released anyway because he's a popular character, I don't suspect sort of the same thing wouldn't be impossible here. So this is what I think September will look like. The interesting thing, I think the thing that's hanging up in the air and none one really knows what's going on is what the anniversary event looks like. So far, to catch you up on the conversation in the official Discord, there has been talks about free SSRs being given out, LSSRs being given out as part of the event, right? Which shouldn't really come as a surprise given they've done it before with Boros, and actually they're doing it at a much larger extent in the older servers. This is why I think out of the characters listed here, Sonic is probably the most likely candidate here, assuming that they are doing this. Mostly because, well, it's actually becoming kind of a free character for all Chinese servers, new servers. Anyway, so there is a sort of a track record there. It's also a very good character, essential character for PvP and PvE. So giving him out for free would make everyone happy, right? You can also imagine a scenario in these two switch, in which at least the Suiru fans would be happy, and none of us would be complaining about free stuff, right? Going down the list, you would likely have one between these guys to be released in October, and I imagine that can be Gale Winged, given he is the more powerful one, and the less powerful slash supported character, which is the Awakened Vaccine Man, will be released in a backup stick. Going forward, we would have SSR plus Child Emperor, at least I think, released, if not November, December. Just simply going down the list, right? There's no other character to be released unless Flame, who himself it already got skipped multiple times in like older server. I think Taiwan server at the very least. And then it brings us to SSR plus Boros, which is kind of crazy to think about just because he is so just miles beyond everyone we've seen before, or in general everyone in the SSR plus era. But he will be coming, I think, around December. This is also fits the holiday season very well. And then the backup stick will be likely Flame, who is just, I think, not a very pretty skippable character, all things considered. So this is what it looks like. A couple of scary things. I think this is why you might be seeing some discussion / debate in the official Discord about viability of Awakened Tornado, because she was considered one of the most characters with the highest longevity, right? But I don't think that would be the case simply by running the numbers, right? There's simply, if they continue the scheme of releasing limited new characters for backup stick every once per 2 months, there is no way she can maintain that shelf life. Neither could Genos. In this case, Genos will have 3 months to live at best, and Awakened Tornado, even if Child Emperor doesn't get released prematurely, she would have one, maybe even not one, right? She would not be really used this month, given, again, Genos is king. 1, 2, 3, right? That would be 3 months, maybe 4 months of top end meta before she is rendered completely useless. So this is where I think will happen. What does this mean, right? If, as I said before, if as long as Moontoon continue a release schedule of pumping out limited characters or backup stick at twice the speed, every character is going to be very fast expiring, right? Even if it's a character you love, it's a character you put a lot of heart and soul in, he or she will be useless in a best 3 or 4 months. I think with that expectation going in will help you make the decisions on how much you spend, right? I think there's a difference when you're spending for a character you can rely on for quite some time versus a character that can only be used for a very short period of time, right? So I think good to have that expectation. I think it also essentially sets the expectation that a lot of characters need to be sort of skipped unless you are the top spender, high spender, because they intentionally make the quote-unquote skippable character released in the backup stick or other methods, and then essentially making you having to pull even every single guy that released on black tickets. So not a great news for low spender free to play, as always. Again, I think it's important to manage your expectation and perspectives, which I will get to more in the second part of the series. Essentially, I think the quote is just to get at the very least, get the core, right? Get the new core. If you do spend either Gyro, Bomb, or going forward, get your Gunship, or even Drive Knight at the very latest. And then focus on the characters you like, and perhaps not to sort of pay too much attention to PvP, unless that's really your thing, because you would have to prepare to spend big, right? If that's the case. So this is what I think will happen in the next coming weeks and months. I think I would encourage you to do some of your individual research to see which of the characters you like will be coming out and their viability, etc., etc. I will be sharing my thoughts in the next part of this series. Let's flip to another topic I had planned for today, which is essentially what the SSR Plus era means, which will be dawn on us actually pretty soon, in sort of my prediction in about 4 months time. Why actually you will hear the SSR Plus era is one that a lot of people quit, and why is that, and what you can do to prepare for it, or not at all, simply because again, we're not playing this as an investment, right? We're playing this to have fun. So if you don't think you like what you see, you can simply stop and pick a new game. This is so far what I gathered about SSR Plus, and confirmed with a few players and friends I know play the Chinese server. This is the difference. Starting with what is needed to get a new character. Like, what does a new character even mean, right? Right now, that just means one copy. Like today, if you pulled Awakened Tornado, you have that character for you for good. That would not be the case going forward, starting with SSR Plus Child Emperor. You would, at the minimum, need 4 Evolution Stones. This is a new sort of, item that came out, and 1 Awakened Stone. The Evolution Stones are faction specific, so you can get a villain one, you can get a hero one, there's no guarantee which one. Awakened Stone will be character specific, so you can only get these in the respective banners of the characters you want to get. You would also need, on top of these, the base character, the base SSR, in Child Emperor's case, the base Child Emperor, to get the upgraded version of him. Although that shouldn't be as much as a problem, given they boosted the rate of pulling him quite a bit in the banner. Both of these items are acquired predominantly through black tickets, and the only guarantee is you would get 1 random out of these every 80 draws. It can be a hero Evolution Stone, villain Evolution Stone, it can be Awakened Stone, it can be 3 Awakened Stone, 1 Evolution Stone, which completely messes your plan. It can be 3 Evolution Stones of a different faction you need, etc., etc. The ones they are about 3 or 4 gifted at 50, 120, and 180 draw. So if you get really lucky, you don't have to stick to 180. However, for the majority of players, what this means is that the number of black tickets needed to get a new character is drastically increased. Right now, technically, you can get a character for as little as 10 tickets, right? You've seen the Discord people who got the character in their first pull, and they're good, right? They can use the Omni shards, they can put in extreme training to get the shards. They have that character for good, just as good as anyone else can. Going forward, though, however, the minimum, what's called a first awaken, most of the time will require 180, right? Because you need that 180 draws to get the free items. Otherwise, you would not have enough, unless you save like months worth of free stuff to give it out, which is also extremely rare. And if you dare to go second awaken, which is another, I don't know, version of the character they designed that is for whales only, and it's extremely powerful, essential in top end PvP. Better preparing 400 plus tickets. That's a lot, not gonna lie. With it also comes the meta cycle changes. So right now, as we're used to, at least a character being usable for 3, 4, 5, 6, even 7 months, that will no longer be the case, right? You will be lucky if your character gets 4, because how expensive these characters are, as you can imagine, they would want to make sure each of them are as powerful as they can get. So very, very few bad SSR pluses are released in that sense. What this also translates into just simply no character is skippable, not that many. Whereas right now, if you have skipped, characters like Metal Knight, Boros, Bang, sure, you might take a hit in PvP or PvE by a slight, but it wouldn't be a game-breaking, avoidance. However, that would no longer be the case going forward, even by looking at the first few release here. Knowing their SSR version as a base, you can imagine how powerful these guys are going to get, right? This is the Kabuto, this is the Metal Bat. So this is why that for players of all levels, whether you're a whale, or you're a low spender, or you're free to play, the bar of getting a character and a usable team is getting exponentially higher, right? And the spending level requires also higher. Even with the higher spending, you're not guaranteed a higher return, as in the characters you get will still be sort of expiring even faster, right? And I think this honestly isn't great news for a lot of us who want to play the game a little bit more sustainably, a little bit more for long term, but that's the unfortunate fact. This is coming. There is no avoidance in that. They replicate this SSR Plus system in the later servers like Southeast Asia, Taiwan, Japan. So it is coming, and it's coming about 4 months. I would say 5 months at the latest. So again, I'll dive into a little bit more deeper in the second part of the video, but it is important to manage your expectations, right? And know when and how you want to play this game, right? Like, for example, right now, my goal would be to continue my spending level and competitiveness up until the SSR Plus era, and then perhaps to not spend at all or quit the game after. So knowing that expectation help you manage your goals and then help you manage your spending. Again, this is not the only game you need to play. This is a fun game, but it's kind of getting ruined by the release schedule. Yeah, that's it for today. Again, it's probably a super long video. Part of it is like to make up for my absence for the longest time, but hopefully this can be of help to some of you guys, just to kind of deciding sort of what to pull for next and save for next. Really quickly, for Tornado, given her drastically reduced meta span, she is no longer a must pull, and you can opt to save up for the core character or some of the strong characters down the road. But I'll try to get into that a little bit more in the second part, where I talk about the different systems that can be viable and the minimal viable product, should you call it, if you want to choose for one of these systems, and then respectively what characters you can pull. All right, hope you enjoyed it. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments as always, and hope to see you soon. Bye.